Radu Gabrea, please come here, slowly. Victoria Cocias, the actress in the film, and Radu Gabrea, the director. We have 20 minutes for this Q&A, so I'll just ask the first question, leaving you time to prepare your questions, and then let's try to be quick. I know there are going to be plenty of questions. Radu, we already did an interview, so I don't want to. I think I've asked you already the questions, all the questions that I had. But I think for the audience is important to explain. When I've seen the film and when I talked to you, you were always mentioning that. A mix. I mean, the concept of this film is this mix between true fiction and false reality. I mean, it sounds like a contradiction, but actually, when you see this film and the way you design the film, it's not. But can you develop a little bit
exactly. I wanted to make a film as close as possible to the reality. I had the feeling at the same time that the feature would be appropriate to show a part of the truth. Otherwise, if I should have only a feature, I should have been obliged to use different dramatic rules to build a story, which would then falsify the story. So I try to make the story as a line without ignoring all the dramatic laws for the feature, and putting them together with the truth, the so-called truths discovered by the interviews, by the talking heads. At the end, you see, and Mihai observed very well, at the end, the feature, the fiction. Sorry? Oh.
Take this one.
Sorry. Sorry. I have to repeat that because it's important. I had a choice. I wanted to make a film very close to reality, to the truth. I mean, the truth is a very complicated thing to reach. Anyway, if I would have done only a feature film, that I would have to introduce in the story compulsory different laws of telling a story, laws of telling a story in the cinema with climax, with introducing, that would falsify the story, after my opinion. Only a documentary would not have enough force and impact to treat these very dangerous and dramatic events. So I choose this, and at the end now, I think I had right. Because it's a very paradoxical situation. The talking heads, documentary parts, and especially TV, the television, is false reported to the truth, and the fiction is true. So it's a very strange combination between two sides, and I think that makes the power of this movie.
But why do you say that the talking heads are false? I mean, why do you say they are not real?
The talking heads only give some lines of the story, some direction of the story. But the story, the time of the story, the normal time, the only time of a story is the TV stations.
The archive footage from that time.
Because it follows exactly the hour which corresponds to the feature, to the fiction. If you tell a story in a fiction, you say you write on the screen Monday 22 hours or Tuesday timeline. But as the timeline is exactly the TV story running in the country from the beginning when they left. As you discovered, they left at 12:30. The TV started at 12:35, the first rehearsal for TV, and ended after, as you see, waiting for the cassette, for the tape to be broadcasted.
Okay, questions. Please raise your hand and try to say it as loud as you can. Yeah, please.
No, I was not. This was my advantage. I had no prejudice. I had knew nothing. I was far away. Everything I discovered looking at film materials and interviewing people. So I was not a part, you know. The actress was.
Maybe you can tell us, where were you at Revolution?
Yes, I can tell you, I was in Santiago de Chile.
No, he asked me. He was in Santiago. Yes.
Sorry,
I was
that's-
to Bucharest, yes. Yeah, I was to Bucharest. And for me, it was a revolution. I was a participant in the square.
You believe it in Revolution at that day?
Yes. And the day before. Okay. We are two in this room. I think not only two. I don't understand the question. Okay. 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 Okay.
Okay, next question, please. Yeah.
Congratulations on the film. I really enjoyed it. Two-part question. One, why did you decide to make this film now after 21, 22 years? And second, how easy was it to get access to the people that actually were there? In the movie, someone said 36 or 40 people were interviewed that were actually seen.
It was not complicated.
I mean, everybody heard the question.
Have you heard the question, everybody? No,
The first question
well,
was,
two questions.
why this
I
film-
made the movie just now, 1 year after the evolution. How easy I could access the interviews and the material. The first question, I think the revolution is not a closed chapter. Coming later in the country, in 1995, after 23 years exile in Germany, when I fled the country out in 74 because of Ceausescu, though I'm also with Ceausescu, sometimes I kind of kinship, I think the truth is not yet told. It was a revolution, but it was more than that or less than that. Because if we see 1,000 people dead and 5,000 people wounded, and nobody found any terrorist, and nobody was found guilty for these things, is something complicated. Something is hidden, after my opinion. And I try to raise the veil, you know, to try to see through these small moments, 3 days, you see the total difference. The president, Iliescu, the president of the state, is a TV speaking about the atrocities of terrorists, of 1,000 people killed, of Ceausescu manipulating the two monsters, and these two were two grotesque puppets without any power, already more or less, you see, crazy, let's say a little bit, because Ceausescu didn't believe any moment that something happened with him really. His wife was most realistic, if you want to. But this contradiction is, for me, very important. I choose this moment because, firstly, to make a film about the whole story, it would be enormous, complicated. So I chose this small part, and I think it's all the contradiction of the revolution, if you see, are in this part. You see the soldiers inside, the people who are shooting. Nobody knows who is shooting on these barracks. Then the information from outside, what the TV said. They said the officer said there was no people died. The other officer said, I thought the shops with mineral water were ransacked. They were not. So it was a personal kind of many lies together, small lies, big lies. And I think personally that this problem of lying is a very complicated story and complicated fact for Romanian history. That's also my position like that in all what I did as a filmmaker, and I think it's necessary, even it's only partly try to reveal some about this truth.
And the second question was how easy it was for you to get access to...
It was very easy, but the problem is the 45 people. Firstly, they had a lot of information. I intend, when the movie will come out on DVD, to add to a DVD of the movie, a DVD with the interviews, which are not included in the movie, which are very important for the atmosphere of the moment. But otherwise, the question of the testimonies was that after 20 years, many people tried to adapt their answers as they thought the answers are suitable today. It's a very strange form of remembering, alienation of the truth, if you want to see. So I had to find many people.
Yes, a question and a comment. Did you bring the people in the army to trial? If not, and I agree with you because my country went through that. 30 years later, we're still trying the military that go to jail, the president and everybody else. I'm from Argentina.
Coming from where?
Argentina.
Sorry.
So I want to know what did you do, and if you did that, it's always an ongoing thing. It has to be, these people have to be put to trial and go to jail and pay for the things that they did to humanity.
No, that's the question, yes. Nobody did it in Romania. Up to now, there's no trial for the people who died. These dead people are dead, definitely dead. They are forgotten. There are many, many things, many very strange things in the Romanian Revolution. No, I don't know if there are people which are paid making the revolution. You know, the heroes of the revolution, so called, they get a payment, a monthly payment. No, I think the difference. I was in Argentina. I know a little bit Argentinians. There's a difference between Romanian and Argentinians. The people in Romanian, they are fewer and fewer who ask questions, as I must tell you, fewer and fewer. And the others try to arrange with the situation. You know, who cares if they died for 22 years? We are here trying to arrange our life, you know, to make it better. It's a complicated story, because this revolution, on the contrary, is all the revolution in the so-called changes in the socialist country was, after my opinion, not profound enough. Not real enough. That's my opinion about the facts.
Okay.
I have a question for the leading actress. How did you prepare for this role? How did you research for the role?
I studied very much. I studied the cassette with the process, with the trial cassette. I studied. I saw this cassette, I think, 50 times, and I studied the gesture, everything, because it was the most recent testimony about her, you know, and was the period. I studied this cassette with the trial. That was the preparation.
But actually, Victoria, that was the only material that you could study, because as far as I know, I mean, Radu, you have to tell us, since you are digging all the possible archives for materials, I mean, there is no record of the couple, of Ceausescu couple, in those 3 days up to the trial.
Not at all.
There is nothing filmed. I mean,
no, they filmed only the trial, and it was filmed on purpose. They had to show to the people that trial was done for different reasons. There were no other anything more filmed in this period, and all these things you saw are realized after inquiring, as I told you, questioned people who were with these guys each moment. The pilot, by the way, many of them are dead now. The pilot of helicopter is no more living. The president of the court who judged them committed suicide after, I don't know, 6 months or 1 year. There are many persons who died after and who were in connection with the history. So therefore, there is a very troubled, very unclear image of the story in this moment. Therefore, I made the movie.
Going back to Victoria, yeah, and actually about the acting, because most of the film is made out of scenes that are not documented in any filming way. So I assume, Victoria, I mean, what was the more difficult, to reenact something that you've studied, I mean, that tape with the trial, or to reinvent a character that you knew from, well, other other scenes before. I mean, you really had some guidelines, but with a trial, let's say, I don't know, it was easier to reenact, to impersonate her, or it was easier and you had more freedom to reenact a character that you haven't seen doing all those actions because they were not documented, like before?
It was very difficult, the decision I make to do this this role, this part, because I live my youthness, it was in the period, the bad period of Ceausescu's family, and it was very difficult, the decisions. But after I take the decision, I tried to put myself in her skin, you know. I tried to put myself in her skin, knowing about her many things. She was a very bad woman. I know that. And
was it for you? It was troubling to play this bad woman. Was it? I don't know. I mean, what did you feel? You know, but like a person, not like an actress. You know, I mean, how easy was for you to do that? I mean, was it pleasing in any way?
It was difficult to approach. It was difficult to approach. After that, when I was in the situation, in her situation, I react.
She had no more choice.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I tried to be in her skin, and I do what I do. I don't know.
I must tell you something about the origin of the play. Before this play, an institute in Germany, a German-Swiss institute, studying the political crimes, reenacted, restaged only the trial. And Victoria with Zika Kojokaru, the actor, they were both playing in this reenactment on the stage in Berlin, Zurich, Bern, and so on. So they had the experience. The experience of the trial, they had it already, as these two impersonating characters.
Yes. The trial itself, I don't know if you saw the cassette at the time, the trial in himself, who is 1 hour and a half.
It's a perfect theater play.
It's a theater play. I played
the judges
in Berlin, in Bern, Zurich, in everywhere. We played that part. In Romania only 2 times because it was forbidden by Ceausescu's family. They have a mark of name Ceausescu.
It was a stupid story, absolutely story.
Yeah. And we started this project because we want to start discussions about this fact, you know. It was not possible in Romania. We have discussion in Berlin, in Bern, in Zurich, everywhere, not at home yet. I don't know.
Sorry, one moment. That answers the question. Somebody put it here. If we discuss these questions, somebody is asking for truth, somebody is asking for putting these guys into a trial. There is an indifference. I was with Victoria when she played this in Berlin. It were interesting, very interesting discussions with people, young people, how it was, how it happens. We had a good experience in Romanian because you showed the movie in a festival, Anonymous, where it was the 160 or 200 place theater with very young people. It was a very, very interesting contact with them, and they had a very positive reaction to the movie. So I don't know, we are expecting more scenes.
We have a question over there.
Yes, I guess while, most of the blame was put on Ceausescu and his wife, and they were killed, it seems like it stripped Romania of having the right of doing a Nuremberg trial, like a real trial of communism. Do you feel that the Romans, and in a system where politicians, power has failed the Romanian people, do you feel like the artist is the only entity left that has tackled this problem of trying to find the truth?
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, this is you don't. If you speak about Nuremberg trial, Never a trial was prepared months and months. They studied millions and tons of documents, or photographs, or testimonies. This is a trial which was arranged in 1.5 hours. And that was a huge difference. The question is why they decided to kill Ceausescu. It's my question. Why Ceausescu had to be killed? And one of the questions is because he knew too much. You know, and what he knew too much, about whom he knew too much. That's the question. This is a question I couldn't answer. But I think here is the question. One of the motivations, because he was so abruptly killed.
We have time for 2 more questions. So the one in the back, yeah.
Mr. Gabrea, I'd like to ask
Afterwards. No.
how did the dialogue come between the characters of Nikolai and Elena? It's interesting to see those 3 days not knowing exactly what happened. For those 3 days, and I'm curious to see who contributed to the script and how.
Yes, very important story. You are right. Firstly, the dialogues are authentic because they are told by the officers who were with them there. They told us and told to Grigore Cartiano, who is a screenwriter. I forgot to speak with, I apologize even if not here, because he inquired this period very, very exactly. And the books he wrote about that were a huge success in last year in Romania. That was one of the motivation, because the interest to these books was huge. They sold 200,000 books, which for Romania is enormously number of books sold. So it was a sign that the people are interested. And Grigore, who wrote a screenplay after his books, did a lot to rediscover the truth, not only in connection with Ceausescu, with the whole situation of the revolution. His books, I recommend it to you if you can find them or order them in Bucharest, are very clarifying many, many things. For instance, let's explain one thing very, very strange. The Romanian who participated into the revolution got some reward, some money reward. They have a good salary, they got some real estate as revolutionary guys. And Cartiano discovered, for instance, two people who were hero of revolution. One was people who was shot, and the other one was the guy who shot him. So both parts were rewarded as revolutionaries. They're very strange things. And these are all discovered by Grigore Cartiano, and therefore, of course, he's married for this book, for the screenplay.
For the dialogues, they were about the testimony. At least three testimony who are
yes, the officers didn't tell you the lines. Of course, the lines were written by Cartiano, but they told us they spoke about that. They spoke about diabetes. They spoke about they asked to sleep with him together in the bed, though we knew the content of the dialogues.
So that's the fiction part.
Yes, the fiction part. Of course, we didn't know exactly the line because it was not a micro there to take what they spoke. No?
Over there, yeah.
I just wanted to point out about the trial. That was noted right away after the revolution. There were lots of people, I think, in Romania, especially, who questioned the authenticity of the trial. And that's probably the most interesting aspect. And in the film, it's very interesting. There's an irony about the trial. Ceausescu said it's illegal, and they were perhaps right. And I want to just broaden that point. Romania was in a paradoxical situation of having had the Soviet troops withdraw in 1958. So it was ruling itself. Now that means that however severe the regime was, and I lived there 4 years under Georgiou and Ceausescu, the point is that they could not say they were occupied. And the corollary of that is that there was obviously an enormous amount of collaboration during that whole period. In the film itself suggests that they are afraid that he will start a civil war if he gets to Gorbachev, right? So this is in the back of everybody's mind. So
the story of Russian occupation has a special position in Romanian history because in we succeeded, the Romanian government, to put all the negative things on the Russians, or on the Russians, or on the Jews. And the Russians pulled out in 58. In 64, Georgi Georgiou, who killed the most people in the country, was a communist chief killer, made a April declaration, so-called, of independence against the Russians. But, and from that moment, the way from Ceausescu was open, and Ceausescu came at the power after this document, so-called independent from the Russians. But I was a young student. I was in Prague in 64. I was in Warsaw in 64. There was much more freedom, cultural, literary freedom, much more economical situation, much better, and the Romanian country who was independent against the Russians. Though this independence was used by the guys in power to reinforce their power after Stalinist methods. That's the paradoxical situation of Romania, in fact, that the liberation of the army had nothing to do. And look, the countries which were liberated only in 89 are now in a better position than Romania, which was not liberated at all. He was liberated in 58. That's the situation.
I just want to make the point that the big consideration, and this would explain the funny trial and all that there was a tremendous pressure for a cover-up, so that you wouldn't have an unlimited number of people being put on trial because of the massive collaboration which had to happen during those previous 30 years. Otherwise,
That's true.
Independent Romania. That was, I think, the background of the story, and I think the film showed very well how the political position of the officers, it was unclear. They were playing it very carefully, and I think that showed the transition of a lot of people from being supporters of the regime to being against it, and that's why you had
Yes.
to cover it, because otherwise everybody would go to jail.
That's true. You're right. You're
Not
right.
everybody,
This is
but many. Yeah.
Radu, Victoria, we have to finish here because we have another screening.
Thank you very
so
much for
please,
coming.
Radu, I think we'll be more
Thank
than
you very
pleased to
much.
answer your questions outside in the lobby. Right, Radu?
Thank you very much.